We can be heroes. What I'm about to say will be hard for some of you to hear. Mental health illness is by choice. Now, please stay and hear me out, okay? It's obviously not a conscious choice. Nobody chooses their misery. And what about those born with their illness? Does that make them chosen? What if the choice is forever beyond our complete understanding? What if we are the chosen? But if we keep living in our sin, adhering to our egos, we will stay within our suffering for as long as it takes. That's the choice, to stay sick or to seek out our truth. This is the Great Awakening. It seems today in our society, we are making a choice to stay sick, but there is hope. You can make the choice to embrace your illness as your superpower and become a hero. Let me ask you, have you embraced your superpower yet? You do know you have superpowers, right? If not, it's no wonder you're stuck suffering from your mental health disorder. But I think I can help. First, let me reassure you, each of us are born with special powers and a unique purpose. And within this purpose is our karma, which is, of course, why we have these specific superpowers in the first place. You are meant to be exactly who you are and as you are. And you were born into this life on purpose, with purpose. And believe it or not, your real self, the highest self, chose this exact time and place for you to be born, for you to fulfill the lessons of your karma. Now, we can call this our destiny or fate if you'd like. Just know this, it's all quite real. This video is for those of you who are still suffering from your mental health disorders, yet you are beginning to wake up. You are starting to understand the spiritual work that is required of you in order for you to fulfill your life's purpose. And let's be honest, every single human being deals with some form of mental health illness at some point in their life, some longer than others. But guess what? I'm here to tell you there is a cure for your illness, and it's you. The real you. So stay with me because there is hope. Believe me, as someone who suffered from mental illness for a long time, I know how repulsive it is to hear that the cure is you. But please, stay to hear me out. Also, it's important for me to know I am not an expert on mental health by societal standards. I don't have a license to practice or a degree from a university. No, my life experience has been my best educator, and my thirst for knowledge is never quite quenched. I simply didn't want to feel lost and alone anymore, so I finally sought out these answers for myself in order to heal. I wanted to feel better, and although I'm not completely healed, I'm well on my way and certain this discovery is the antidote for all mental health illness. I simply embrace my superpowers, and I wish today to remind you of yours, hopefully right now. Why are we the way we are? Well, they can be summarized as this. We were chosen, and our superpowers categorize us. Some of us are healers, some of us are creators and or inventors, some are leaders and innovators. Are you following me? I can't tell you what your superpower is, but I can share my experience with my mental health disorders and how I've embraced my own superpower. At least one. And I hope that helps you to do the same. I spent many years suffering from depression and anxiety because I was trapped in a suffering state of mind by my victim mentality, which is a part of the ego, by the way. I became an avid user of substance. I was a self-medicator, deliberately trying to prove a point to certain loved ones, specifically my father who abused alcohol. I used alcohol as my means of medicine for years. I used it to deter the nasty thoughts in my mind, you know, those torturous thoughts, which I now know to be my negative self-talk, which is it's also my ego. It's a part of the ego. I didn't understand it then, but I do understand it now. My ego held complete power over me. I was consistently failing in my relationships. I developed trust issues. I was a jealous person suffering from abandonment issues, and I didn't realize I was unhealed from my childhood trauma, per se. I couldn't understand why my partners wouldn't stay faithful to me when I was loving them so passionately. I did everything for them. Why didn't they love me in return? In other words, I never truly learned the real meaning of unconditional love. I have never had a single healthy relationship in my entire life, romance or otherwise. And as a result, I grew into a very confused, codependent person with hypomania. Think of me as your typical bipolar person. I could be anybody at any moment. I was so lost, I no longer knew who the heck I was. Now, I no longer see a doctor or partake in the big business that has become our medical industry. I haven't partaken for years now, so most of these traits remain undiagnosed. Thank God for that too. I can't imagine the medicine they'd have me stuck on trying to get me back to being a productive part of their beast system. But I am successfully curing each of my symptoms on my own by embracing who I truly am and defeating my ego while learning how to accept my higher self. I'm doing my spiritual work, which is becoming my superpower. Take my codependency, for example. Now, codependency in a relationship is when a person involved is mentally, emotionally, physically, and or spiritually reliant on the other person. Immediately, I'm repulsed by this definition. I don't want to sidetrack, but I'm no longer imprisoned by this power of labels. Codependency is predominantly received as being a negative personality trait in our society, mostly because it is often associated with addiction. Now, I've already told you I abused substances and I do have a very addictive personality. That can't be a coincidence, right? So how has codependency become my superpower? Well, when I first learned I was codependent, I was weakened by an immediate satisfaction for finding my illness, thinking all along there would be a cure, an immediate cure, and I could be rid of this illness once and for all. The satisfaction sparked some self-reflection, and I became embarrassed when I revealed this discovery to my ex, who then opened up a new can of abuse. She made me feel hopeless again. Like, shit, something is wrong with me. I started to look at all my relationships and was like, yeah, holy shit, I did this and I did that. Oh my God, I'm undoubtedly codependent. I used to spend every hour of every day trying to make my ex-girlfriend happy. And when I was successful, that was precisely the reward I needed. To see her feel loved and appreciated was precisely what I needed. That was the reward. I felt loved and valued. I felt needed, appreciated. And when I wasn't successful, I was left feeling completely lost and alone. Not loved, not valued, not appreciated. It was frustrating. I became frustrated. How can my being so selfless be so detrimental to my relationships? Well, I quickly discovered how I was subconsciously abusing this superpower of mine. My selflessness was ultimately fulfilling the needs of my ego. Subconsciously, of course. I didn't recognize it at the time, but I was ultimately extending my efforts somehow or another for my benefit alone, and that's not okay. The ego was winning once again. You see, I hadn't taken the time to understand my partner's love language. The days I was successful, inadvertently making her happy, I had coincidentally fulfilled the needs of her love language, if only by accident. And the days I didn't make her happy, I was subconsciously fulfilling my needs through her, which left me confused and heartbroken when our connection was gradually gone for good. This was devastating. I was working so hard on our relationship every day, and it was exhausting. How did I fail? Now, I know I was fulfilling the needs of my own ego. It took a lot of shadow work for me to discover this truth. So you see, where there once was a weakness, there is now a superpower. I'm a highly intuitive person and naturally an empathic lover. I'm driven to help people. I want people to feel happy all the time around me. It was hard for me to understand how I could be so unsuccessful in my relationships when those all seemed like great qualities. All I ever wanted was to share my love. Codependency is now my superpower. There are lovable qualities about every person with codependent personalities. When you come to recognize how your ego is abusing your powers, you can turn those qualities into a super strength. To this day, I remain selfless. I look for the needs of others, and I do my best to guide them into the light. But every person must heal on their own. It makes me feel really good to help someone, to show someone love when they are feeling down. That's what becoming a hero looks like to me. I'm not perfect, and I'm not ashamed of that. In fact, I intend to use the imperfections of my life experience to assist others along on their own journey. I believe each mental health disorder to be a spiritual gift. Where there is a weakness, there is also your greatest strength. I won't be bound by labels. Where you once saw me as a codependent person, I have grown into a healer. My love for others will now have no limitations. So long as I recognize when my ego gets in the way, I will be super powerful. So quiz me. Pick a mental health disorder, and I'll tell you how I think it makes you or them or it special, but I cannot gift you with your superpower. Only you can do that when you discover God within you. Do your spiritual work, defeat your ego, fulfill your karma. Perhaps in a different life, I was not a lover. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be today, fulfilling my life purpose. You just have to be your higher self all the time. It seems so easy to me now, my friends. Life is only as hard as we make it, and truth and love is all we really need. I'm Frankly the Voice with today's wise word. Embrace your superpower. Until next time, my hero friends, may peace bring you into your light and love.